What's up, YouTube? It's me, Carol Kruppenbacher, student. You can call me Mrs. K. Today I'm going to go over Chapter 1, Lesson 3 on 2 categorical variables. Alright, so before we start the lesson, I want to make sure that I go over where you can find all the materials for the past videos as well as the past notes, and of course the notes for this current video and the homework that we are gonna review as well as assign from. First, you can find all of my videos and shorts on YouTube. So if you type in CK Math Teacher all together, then it'll take you to my channel and you'll find all the videos for the lessons. And if you go to my website at www.ckmathteacher.com, at the top right corner of the website, you'll see AP Statistics. If you click on that, it'll take you to my AP Statistics online course, and there you can find the introduction. You can find video number 1 for lesson 1, video 2 for lesson 2, as well as the notes that match the videos. They'll be linked there as well. The homework that we will be using is from StatsMedic, and that will also be linked on that page. And all this stuff will be linked at the bottom of this video as well. Okay, so just a quick recap on what we went over last lesson. We introduced the new vocabulary word distribution. A distribution of something is basically the different categories that you have for options and how many times those options take place. So last time we talked about Jeep colors, how many black Jeeps there were, gray Jeeps there were, white Jeeps there were, and all the other colors, right? So that's a distribution of Jeep colors. Then we talked about 2 different tables, frequency table and relative frequency table. A frequency table just basically has those categories in a nice little table for you, and it tells you what the frequency is, aka what is the count, tallies. So it gives you a number. So whether it's 39, 38, whatever the numbers were last class, that's the frequency. Then we went over relative frequency table, which is similar to frequency table. It just has that other word, relative. So it's talking about relative to the whole. So when we talk about relative frequency tables, instead of counts or tallies or numbers, you're going to get a percentage or a fraction or a decimal, right? So that's a relative frequency table using percentages, fractions, or decimals, versus just a regular frequency table that just gives you a whole number count, or sometimes you might just get tallies and you'd have to count them all up. We talked about possibly seeing round off error. So when we round off some of our numbers, it may or may not add up to 100%. Sometimes you'll get 99%, sometimes you'll get 101%, and that is what round off error is. And then we went over 2 different graphs that you can use to display categorical variables, right? This is not for quantitative, this is for categorical, and that was bar graphs and pie charts. We did this by hand, and we also went to the Statlet website, inputted the data in there, and then it showed us a beautiful bar graph and a pie chart as well. Okay, so let's go over the homework that I assigned, which was number 4 from lesson 1.1, how are your favorite classes related? You can find this on the website statsmedic.com, or you can just look below and I'll have it linked for you. You can also find it on my website. There's multiple ways to access this. Go ahead and press pause if you need some time to take out the homework assignment. All right, so I pulled up the homework, lesson 1.1, how are your favorite classes related from StatsMedic. I have what we wrote here before on my screen, and I'm missing the total somehow. So I'm just gonna go ahead and write 67 because that was our total. And I'm gonna go to number 4 because that was what was assigned. It says go to statlet.com to enter the class data, make a bar graph and a pie chart and sketch them below. This problem again was the Instagram poll that I posted up a while back, and I asked my followers what was your favorite elective class? Art, music, physical education, or foreign language. We took off the technology at the end there because Instagram only had 4 options, so I didn't include technology. And instead we crossed that out and we put total, which is 67. So we're gonna jump to the website, statlet.com, and then we're gonna input these numbers into the Statlet app and draw a bar graph, okay? Okay, so we're gonna go to www.statlet.com. And we're going to select one categorical variable, single group. So it's the first option under data analysis. So we're going to go ahead and select that. The variable that we're dealing with for homework was favorite elective class. We're going to go ahead and type that in, favorite elective class. and we'll type in the categories that we have. We have art, music, PE, and foreign language. Art, music, PE, which is short for physical education, and foreign language. And then we are going to put in the frequencies. So art was 21, music was 19, PE was 11, and for foreign language there were 16 followers who preferred foreign language. And then we're going to go ahead and begin analysis. And what you'll find is this beautiful bar chart that they made for us, and that's what we're going to put here. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom it in so that you can see. Remember, when you make your bar graphs, you're going to want to make the y-axis and the x-axis, and you always want your y-axis to start at 0. Remember, that's one of the misleading things that we see on graphs, is sometimes they don't start at 0, so they cut off a big chunk of the data and then make you only look at a small part of that graph. And you don't want that. So we're going to start our graph from 0. Here's my y-axis, here is my x-axis. Probably should have left a little space for the variables underneath. And this is not a lot of space, so I guess I should have edited this and gave you some more space for the homework. I might do that for the next homework assignment. When you make your y-axis, you want to make sure that it hits the highest frequency, right? So the most selected elective course that we have here is art at 21. So I want to make sure that my y-axis goes all the way to 21. And 21 isn't the best number to stop at. It's just kind of like, it's odd. And then what, are you gonna go by 3s or by 7s? I don't really want to do that. So I'm gonna go by 2s. So it's gonna be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22. You don't have to label all the little marks. You can skip some if you want, but make sure that every little interval is equal in space, right? So if you're going by 2s, you're going by 2s the entire time. So let's make our bars. The first bar is going to be art at 21. So I'm going to make a bar that is between 20 and 22 because that's how many people selected art. And because I'm not a computer, I'm just going to put 21 on the top so that the readers know that I went all the way up to 21. And at the bottom, I'm going to label that art. And then I'm going to do the same thing for music, PE, and foreign language. Music goes all the way to 19. So that's going to be between 18 and 20. Make your bars about the same in width, right? You don't want one big old fat bar and then a skinny bar. So make sure that they're all about the same size in width. And that one was 19. That's for music. And then for PE, only went up to 11. Not many people like to exercise, it seems like. That's 11, that's PE. And then foreign language, we had 16 people choose that. So I'm going to go 10, 12, 14, 16 is about right here. And that is foreign language. Put foreign lang for short, okay? So this is our distribution. It tells you what the categories are: art, music, PE, foreign language, and it tells you how much of each. All right, so looking at the Staplet app, we've got the nice bar chart there. If you hover over these little bars, it'll give you the numbers that correspond to each elective class. And then if you scroll down, it's gonna give you the frequency and the relative frequency, which we talked about last class, as well as a little bit in review in the beginning of this video. So remember, frequency is the count. It's just the number. And for relative frequency, it's turning it into a percentage out of the whole thing. They divided all of those numbers out of 67 to get the relative frequency, and we did this in the last lesson. So the relative frequency for art was 31.3, music 28.4, PE 16.4, and then foreign language was 23.9. So we're gonna use the relative frequency to create our pie chart. Before I use the Staplet app, I want you to be able to kind of do this also by hand. And I know we have trouble with percentages sometimes, so I wanna make sure that you're getting used to making a pie chart in the case that you ever have to make one on the AP exam. So for a pie chart, remember you have to draw a circle like a pie. Make the best circle you can. Hopefully you already know this, but just in case, I'm gonna cover it. If you ate the whole pie, you ate 100% of it. If you ate half of it, that's 50%. If you ate only a quarter of it, it's 25%. And it goes on to smaller percentages as you eat smaller pieces of the pie. The reason why I bring this up is because it's gonna help you kind of figure out where 31.3 is, 28.4 is, and all of that good stuff, okay? What I like to do is, of course, I like to start from the top of the pie, and I'm just gonna put here in red what 25% might look like, okay, just as a marker. But for art, we have 31.3%. So 31.3 is bigger than 25%. So I'm gonna have to make my slice past this red line because 31.3 is past 25%. So I am going to make my little mark, and I'm just gonna, kind of estimate where it would be. It's not gonna be on that red dotted line. It's gonna be a little bit past that. And that might be a little too much, but again, we're not perfect. That's just my guess on where 31.3 might be. And just to be sure that the reader knows what I'm talking about, I'm going to label this art, and that is 31.3%. Next is music, 28.4%. Now, because we're starting here instead of like right at the top, like how we started with art, it's gonna be a little bit more challenging to figure out where the next little line will have to go. So what I like to do is I like to add them up. And what I mean by that is add up art and music together, and that'll give you a total. So 31.3% and 28.4% is about 59.7%. So at 59.7%, that's where the next line is going to be. So 59, is that past the 50 mark? Yes. So it's gonna be about 10% past that. So we're gonna go 10% past that. Let's call it like right here. And again, we're not computers, we're just kind of estimating. And again, we are going to label this just so the reader knows exactly what we mean by this. And then you can add 16.4 to the 59.7 and figure out where the next line goes. Because I only have two left, I like to just go backwards. And for foreign language, it's only 23.9%, so that's not exactly gonna be 25%. So it's gonna be a little bit before that, 23.9. So I'm gonna make my line just a little bit before that, before the 25% on the other side. And that will be my line for foreign language at 23.9%. Now this last piece is just gonna be the part that's missing, which is PE at 16.4%. And that's your pie chart. So back to the Staplet app. If you scroll back up, turn this into a pie chart, there it is. It looks kind of like what we just drew on our paper, doesn't it? So it's cool to have this technology in class so that you can visualize it through tech. But on the AP exam, you're not going to have Staplet.com. You're not going to have a computer. So you're going to have to be able to draw this by hand, and that's the reason why we did it first like that. Okay, so that was your homework number 4. I would just put this paper to the side because I'm going to assign the next part of it for this lesson's video. So let's go ahead and jump into our lesson notes. All right, here we go. Chapter 1, lesson 3 on 2 categorical variables. Let's go over our learning targets first. Learning targets: calculate marginal relative frequencies from a two-way table. Calculate joint relative frequencies from a two-way table. And calculate conditional relative frequencies from a two-way table. Okay, so last class, we went over 2 different tables, frequency table and relative frequency table, and we use those for 1 categorical variables. In this lesson, we're going to be dealing with 2 categorical variables at the same time. So we're going to use a different table called a two-way table. And the definition for a two-way table is a table that summarizes data on the relationship between two categorical variables. Okay, so this is focusing on two categorical variables. And the examples with the one categorical variable, we were only looking at Jeep colors. So remember, we were looking at black, white, gray, and other colored Jeeps. In this example, we've introduced another categorical variable. So we're gonna go ahead and read the problem. So if you had me as a teacher, I would keep repeating this every single time you would read a problem in class with me, because I want you to get sick of hearing me say this. Picture the story in your head, right? Focus on the problem that we're reading. A lot of us read problems, and after we've read the whole thing, it's like, great, but we don't understand what you just read, right? There's no comprehension happening there. So I want you to make sure that you're picturing these things in your head as we're reading them, okay? So, example 1, Mrs. K wanted to know how many other Jeeps there were available to rent on island through the car sharing app Turo. She conducted a search for a random day in the far future and collected the data on the color of the Jeep and the type of rooftop. The two-way table below summarizes her findings. Okay, so what's the story about? Me, Mrs. K, looking at Jeeps on Turo, and I'm trying to check to see how many different Jeeps there are of black, gray, white, and other colors. And now I care if it's a hard top or a soft top. A hard top is where it's solid plastic or whatever material the tops are made out of, or it's kind of like a fabric-y type where you can just open up the top, which is what we have. We have a soft top. And I wanted to see how many more hard tops versus there were soft tops and Jeep colors as well. So I had tallies, I counted them all up and put them in this table for you. So all the numbers are already here. So before we answer the questions underneath the two-way table, I put spaces for the total. So I want us to calculate the total. You're basically just gonna add them all up. I'll do 2 examples and I'm gonna give you some time to fill in the rest. So if we look at black Jeeps, right? So here are the black Jeeps. They're right here. And if you look across the row here, these are all the black Jeeps. Black hard tops, black soft tops, but total, I wanna know how many black Jeeps there are. So 25 plus 13, what's that? That's 38. So I'm gonna put 38 here. And then I want you to do the rest for gray, white, and other. Then I'm just gonna jump over to the next category real quick, just so you can see. For hard top, which is this category right here, these are all the hard top Jeeps. Doesn't matter what color, it's just hard top Jeeps. 25, 25, 26, and 34, these are all hard tops. Let's try and add these all together in my head. 5 plus 5 is 10, 6 plus 4 is 10, that's 20. And then 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have 110 hard tops, okay? So I want you to do soft tops and then gray, white, and other for the totals. And then we're gonna get a total for all the Jeeps in this little box here, okay? I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to fill those in and then we'll cover it again. All right, your 5 seconds is up. Let's go over the answers. Let's start with gray Jeeps. So gray Jeeps is this row right here. These are all the gray Jeeps. Doesn't matter if it's hard top, doesn't matter if it's soft top. I just want to know gray. 25 plus 12, I hope you got 37. For white, 26 plus 13, that is 39. And for other colored Jeeps, again, don't matter if it's hard top or soft top, I just want to know what the total is. 34 plus 21, that is 55. Now, for soft top, looking at this column, right? These are all the soft top Jeeps there were on the website. Doesn't matter what color. Let's add these all up. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 3 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So I've got 59. Hopefully we got the same answers. So 110 is the total for the hard top. 59 is the total for the soft top. Total Jeeps, I've got 169. I hope you got that too. And what you'll see is when you add up the black Jeeps, the gray Jeeps, the white Jeeps, and the other Jeeps, those should also add up to 169, right? You got to make sure your work is right. And if you check those and they don't add up to 169, then one of your numbers are wrong. You might want to double check them just in case on the AP exam. All right, so we filled up our little 2A table. Let's answer the questions below it. Number 1, what percent of the Jeeps are hard top? So we're gonna look for a percentage. First, we need to know how many hard tops there are. Looking at our table, the total number of hard tops is gonna be found under the column for hard top, and that is going to be 110. So it's gonna be 110 out of the total Jeeps, which is 169. And we're gonna take our handy dandy calculator and we're going to divide that. We've got 110 divided by 169, and that's going to be 0.6509. 0.6509. I went over how to round last time, so if you need a review on that, go to Chapter 1, Lesson 2 video. I went over the rounding. I'll go over it again just one time right now, just in case. So the calculator spit out 0.65088, okay, and some other numbers. I am going to round to the 4th space after the decimal. And to do this, you're going to look at the number after that 8, which happens to be another 8. And if that is 5 or greater, you're going to round up. If it's 4 or less, it's going to stay the same. And is this 8 5 or up? Yes, it is. So you're going to round this 8 into a 9, and that's why we have 0.6509. Number 2, what proportion of the Jeeps are black in color? So what is it asking us? It's asking us what proportion, which again is a fancy word for percent. These are the same things, okay? What proportion of the Jeeps are black in color? So where will I find the total number of black Jeeps? I hope you're saying here, Miss K, the 38, which is the total for number of black Jeeps. It didn't ask you about hardtop. It didn't ask you about soft top. It's just asking you what the total black Jeeps are. So the total, hard and soft top, don't matter. We just care that it's black, is going to be 38. So that's going to be 38 divided by 169. Plug that into our handy dandy calculator. 38 divided by 169. And that gives you 0.224. And the 5 will turn the 8 into a 9. And these in percentages, we're going to move this decimal to the right 2 times. That's going to be 65.09%. And the other one is going to be 22.49%. Sorry, I forgot to turn them into percentages. So you should be able to write these in decimal form or percentages, okay? Okay, number 3. I want you to figure out what number 3 is, what proportion of the Jeeps are soft top, and I also want you to figure out what percent of the Jeeps are not black, white, or gray, okay? So I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to pause this, try them on your own, see if you can find them on the 2A table, and then do the math and round correctly to the 4th spot after the decimal. So 5 seconds. All right, number 3, what proportion of the Jeeps are soft top? I hope you looked at the soft top column and looked at the total number of soft tops. We don't care the color, we just care that it's a soft top. And that's 59 out of the total number of Jeeps, which is 169. And if you plug that into your calculator, 59 divided by 169, you get 0.349 and 1. That stays. Then you're going to turn that into a percentage. 34.91% of the Jeeps are soft top. Number 4, what percent of the Jeeps are not black, white, or gray? AKA they're asking for other, right? Not black, not white, not gray. What percent of the Jeeps are other? And the total other colored Jeeps was 55. 55 divided by 169. Plug that into your handy dandy calculator. It's going to be 0.3254 or 32.54%. Okay, so what were we calculating in all of these? All the numbers that we got, 110, 59, 38, 55, these were all found along the margin of the table. So I'm pretty sure you've heard of the word margin before. If you think about just a regular piece of writing paper, sometimes they'll have you write on the margins, or you can write, well, people might not like this, but you can write in the margins of the book pages, right? Like on the little sides of the book pages or bottom, top, whatever. So marginal relative frequency is only really looking at one of the categories, okay? And you're looking at the margins of the table to get these. So a marginal relative frequency gives the proportion of individuals that have a specific value for one categorical variable, right? And it makes sense, right? When you're looking at the margin, you're only looking at one variable, right? 38 is just representing the total number of black Jeeps. Same thing for 37, total number of gray Jeeps. 39, total number of white Jeeps. It doesn't matter whether it was a hard top or a soft top, we just mattered the color. Same thing if you look at the bottom of the columns, right? 110. Didn't matter what the color was, it's just the total of hard tops. So we're only looking at one categorical variable. 59, total of soft tops, one categorical variable. So for marginal relative frequency, it really is only talking about one categorical variable, even if the two-way table shows two different variables, Jeep colors and roof type. For marginal relative frequency, it only really looked at one of them at one time. The other two is not like that. Okay, so before we move on to the next definition, I actually want to write a few notes on here. In this two-way table, I gave you spaces for the totals for the Jeep colors as well as the roof type. Sometimes you'll have problems that don't give you a column or a row for total. Okay, so you're just gonna have to remember to calculate the totals on the margins, right? So I'm gonna put here, if row, sorry, I'll zoom in so that you can see. If row or column totals are missing, calculate them first. Okay, because you're gonna need the total to calculate the percentages. And sometimes when kids don't see a place for the total, they totally forget to calculate the total, and then they don't understand that they're gonna need the total to calculate the percentages. So if you don't see a space for total, make sure that you try and find that first, okay? So that's just a little side note there. And then also, I want to add a little note, which we just already talked about. I want to add a note for what marginal distributions actually give you. We're just gonna put, they only focus on one variable. It tells us nothing It tells us nothing about the relationship between both of them. Since we're only just looking at one variable, it doesn't really tell us anything about the relationship between the two variables. So that's marginal relative frequency. We're going to jump into joint relative frequency after this. So we just went over marginal relative frequencies of a two-way table. We're gonna move on and go over joint relative frequency. I copied and pasted this two-way table so that we have it on my screen available. I'm just gonna move it around for a little bit. So joint relative frequency gives the percent, or proportion. So I'm gonna put this here because I want you not to get confused when you hear the word proportion. It's the exact same thing as percent, okay? So percent or proportion of individuals that have a specific value for one categorical variable, and I'm gonna caps that and underline it so you know that it's looking at and something else, and a specific value for another categorical variable. Okay, so we're gonna be looking at two different categorical variables at the same time. This is joint relative frequencies. So and is that keyword there. We're looking at two things, one categorical variable and another categorical variable. Number 5, what percent of all Jeeps are white soft tops? So we're still looking at all of the Jeeps. So what's the total of that? 169, okay, so that's going to be our denominator. Okay, we're still looking at of all the Jeeps. What percent of the Jeeps are white soft top? I want the box that contains the number for white Jeeps as well as soft top Jeeps. This row right here are the white Jeeps. I don't want hard tops, I just want soft tops. So I'm looking at this column, soft top Jeeps, and I'm looking for that intersection, right? I want it to be white and soft top. So I hope you're looking at this number right here, 13. That is the number of white Jeeps that are also soft top. Okay, so that's going to be 13 out of 169. So we're gonna go ahead and use our handy dandy calculator again. 13 divided by 169. We've got 0.076. The 2 is gonna make this stay a 9. And that's about 7.69% of the Jeeps that I found are white soft tops, okay? Number 6, what proportion of all Jeeps are gray hard tops? So I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to use the table and figure out what proportion, again, it's the same as percent, of all the Jeeps are gray hard tops. Okay, 5 seconds, here we go. All right, so what proportion of all Jeeps? So that means your denominator is 169 still. We still want to know out of all the Jeeps that I found are gray hard tops. Gray is this row right here in blue. And hard tops, that's this column right here. The intersection for gray hard tops is 25. So hopefully you wrote down 25, and we're going to convert that into a decimal. 25 divided by 169 is going to be 0.147. 9 will stay. And then turning that into a percentage, we've got 14.79% of the Jeeps, of all the Jeeps, are gray hard tops. Those are examples of joint relative frequency. We're looking at two things at the same time. Number 5 was white Jeeps as well as soft top, and 6 was gray Jeeps, hard tops. So we've already covered marginal, we've already covered joint relative frequencies. Now we're gonna do the last one, which is conditional relative frequencies. And I'll be honest, sometimes kids have a hard time determining whether it's joint or conditional. And a big hint is gonna be based off the wording of the question. So I've tried to give a few examples of how it could be asked and what to look for. But as you do them, I think you'll just get better naturally as you keep practicing these. But I will try and give you some examples so you can kind of figure out, okay, it's not asking about all the Jeeps anymore. It's asking about a certain group now, okay? They put a condition on what group we're looking at. Let's write the definition first for conditional relative frequency, which gives the percent or proportion of individuals that have a specific value for one categorical, so one categorical variable among, okay, that's the key word here. Last time it was and, now it's among individuals who share the same value of another categorical variable. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between and among another group. Okay, so and is both, and it's usually out of all the things that you're looking at. So the examples that we just did, we were still looking at all 169 Jeeps. We just wanted to make sure that it had two the variables that we're interested in, right? White and soft top, gray and hard top. That is not the case for conditional relative frequency. We're looking for a categorical variable of one group among another group. Now we've put a condition on the total group that we're looking at. Okay, we're not looking at all the Jeeps anymore. We've picked a group that we only want to look at. That's conditional relative frequency. So let's look at some examples. What proportion of the soft top Jeeps are black? Okay, so if you look at the question, it says what proportion of the soft top Jeeps? Okay, so that's different than the ones that we did before. Let me see if I can just scroll down real quick. This says what percent of all Jeeps? What proportion of all Jeeps? We were looking at all of them, 169 of them. For conditional relative frequency, it's only going to talk about a certain group. For number 7, what proportion of soft top Jeeps? So that's going to tell you your denominator is going to change. It's not going to be 169 at the bottom anymore. It's going to be whatever the total is for soft top Jeeps. And if you look at our little chart here, for soft top Jeeps, we've got a total of how many? If you look at that column of soft top Jeeps right here, we're looking at the total. What is the total? It is 59, okay? That's the total. That's going to be our new denominator for that problem. Now, what proportion of the soft top Jeeps are black? So of that soft top Jeep group, okay, out of the 59, how many are black? I hope you're thinking 13, okay? Not 25, 25 is not included. Why not? It's not part of the soft top group. We're only looking at soft top group. So 13 out of 59 is what we're interested in. And now that's gonna give us a different number. 13 divided by 59, which is 0.2203 when rounding off. And that will be 22.03% when you turn it into a percentage. Let's look at the next example. It says, what percent of hardtop Jeeps are another color besides black, white, and gray? So again, I reworded this to say what percent instead of proportion, just because I want you to get used to those two words being pretty much the same thing. So what percent of hardtop Jeeps? Okay, so we've changed the denominator again. What do you think is going to be our denominator based off our two-way table here? I hope you're thinking 110. And we want to know, of those hardtop Jeeps, what percent are another color besides black, white, and gray? So we don't want black, white, and gray. That's the other group. So how many are in the other group of the hardtop group? That's going to be 34. Okay, divide that. 34 divided by 110, which is going to be 0.3091 after rounding to the fourth spot. And that is going to be 30.91% in percentage. Okay, number 9. These are worded a little differently because I want you to have examples of how you might see these asked. So number 9, of the white Jeeps, okay? So right away it told you it only wants you to look at white Jeeps. What is the total for white Jeeps? What is your new denominator? That's going to be 39. Okay, so of the white Jeeps, now we're only looking at this row right here. Okay, these are the white Jeeps. Of these white Jeeps, what proportion are soft top? So what's the number that's going to be at top? 13. Okay, 13 divided by 39. We all know that that should be 1/3. Okay, or approximately 0.3333. If you're not sure, you can do 13 divided by 39, but that should be something that you recognize, right? That's 1/3. Or 33.33%. And lastly, here's another way it could be asked, giving you a hint that it's conditional. Given that a Jeep is gray in color, okay, so they've given you a condition. The condition is the Jeep is gray in color. So what is the denominator going to be for this? I hope you're saying 37. Can't really see it because I've completely marked up my table, but the total for gray Jeeps, okay, I'll put it in the blue row right here. The total for gray Jeeps is 37. That's going to be the denominator. It's out of that now. And what percent are hard tops? What number are you going to put on the top? I hope you're saying 25. So 25 is going to be on the top. Okay, this is not that easy of a fraction to do in your head. So we're going to do 25 divided by 37, which is 0.6757. Or 67.57%. Okay? All right, so we went over marginal relative frequencies, right? We looked at the margins. We were only looking at Jeep colors, or we were only looking at roof type, soft top, hard top. Then we looked at joint relative frequency, okay? We were looking at both white and soft top together out of all the Jeeps. And the difference between joint and conditional relative frequency is that conditioned relative frequency gives you a condition. We are no longer looking at all the Jeeps that I found, okay? So all of these examples, 7, 8, 9, 10, are now looking at a specific Jeep. One of the problems, we're only looking at white Jeeps. Some of the problems, we're only looking at soft tops. And then from there, it asks you another question among the other group. Okay, so those are the 3 learning targets that we were supposed to hit today. Let me assign your homework, which is going to be from the same worksheet that we went over for number 4 in the very beginning of this video. It's going to be lesson 1.1, same one. How are your classes related? Are your classes related? And you're going to do number 5 and you're going to do number 6. Okay, I'm going to go over that in lesson 4 for the next video. I'll also link this homework assignment down below, as well as the notes for this and anything else that you might need. Okay? All right, so that was chapter 1, lesson 3. I really hope these videos help you as a student, as a parent, as a teacher, maybe as a first-year teacher. And if not, again, they're just going to be a collection of my videos for my classroom if I ever get back to the classroom setting, or for my future kids. And if you want to see more, please follow, please subscribe, please like, please talk about my videos, good or bad, I don't care, just talk about them to somebody. And I hope to see you in the next video. Okay, thank you, bye.